writing a book. Writing a book for Hay House, hopefully. I pitched it to Hay House. I'm hoping that they'll pick it up. Um, so I'm just trying to check to make sure that it's actually going live. Yeah, it says live. Okay. And I'm answering them in a video format and using the transcription and editing from there to create chapters. So I already have the first chapter done. I just published it myself yesterday onto the School of Perimenopause, which if you haven't joined and you're in perimenopause and menopause, I would suggest that you join it because there's over 30 items now at the free level. This is not a free offering. My writing is not free. The video is free. So the video is live right now into Facebook, and then it will be parked permanently on the School of Perimenopause in a sleep folder. So it's really easy to find everything on there. I'm really happy with it, and it's doing almost everything that I want it to do now, with the addition of these sales. So I can't really answer questions and monitor the Facebook questions at the same time. So, and the first couple of questions on sleep, I already did go through and answer myself. So I'm going to start, I think, on February 3rd. So let's just have a look here. Okay. So February 3rd is an incomplete answer, so I'm gonna start with that. So chapter 2, sleep. Just as an introduction, sleep is a huge issue. For me, it was one of the first problems that I had that was like all of a sudden out of the blue, what the heck is going on? It went along with the sudden anxiety that I had. I have never really been a great sleeper since I became a mother, but I would sleep fairly well. And if you left me to it, I could sleep 12 hours. And all of a sudden, I went from that to waking up frequently and even having a sense of doom. So, this is my turning point, dark night of the soul story. I was fast asleep and suddenly I woke up. It was probably 4 o'clock in the morning. I felt like I had bugs crawling on my skin. I was the most uncomfortable I had ever been before in my body. Just really felt like I wanted to get out of my body. It was so uncomfortable. And the sense of just dread, like World War III was happening outside my door. This was just before COVID hit, so it wasn't COVID anxiety. That wasn't a thing. I was very disoriented, heart pounding, not having a hot flush, but uncomfortable. And I went for a walk, and I have a friend who's in New Brunswick, so I was able to send messages with her, and she reassured me I'm probably not dying and it's probably anxiety related, and to go back home and try and go back to sleep. So I did go back home for my walk and got into the bathtub and was sitting there crying, and honestly had the first time in my life where I really thought of a way that I could unalive myself. And my husband came in and said, "Oh, who died?" Because we have had many people in our family, many close friends die in the last few years. And I said, "I don't know. I guess I died. I'm different than I was before. I'll never be the same again now." And that was when I knew something was pretty much horribly wrong. I didn't really know that it was perimenopause. I had no idea that that could happen, that it could be that bad. But I did make an appointment to see my doctor and went in, and that's when she said, "Okay, sounds like perimenopause. Let's get you on an antidepressant," and started working with everything I could work with to try and help myself. I got pretty good with my sleep hygiene. Medication I was on did help, but honestly, it wasn't enough. So I started working with the yoga that I had learned through Mount Royal University. I'm a certified yoga therapist, and I designed a whole system to change your relationship to sleep, and started working with other people on the 21 days to fix your sleep. I would like to say that I never have sleep issues, but that's not the case. The big difference is now if I wake up, I don't buy into any of that panic. If I do have a sense of dread, I know what that is. I can identify that's a sense of dread, and I do fall back asleep. And I utilize a lot of the tools. So that's what we're going to talk about, what it is, what it looks like, what tools you can use, and specific questions that I have, you know, basically summarized from running the CPMS group for the last 5 years. What kind of questions come up more than anything else? So I'll start with February 2nd. Since I'm wait a second. February 2nd. Since I'm thinking about HRT anyway, I'm curious if it could help with this type of sleep issue, meaning the sudden can't stay asleep. So all the natural helpers, sleep hygiene and supplements weren't enough for me, and I did need to have some medication. It did make a huge difference. The hormone that helps a lot with sleep is progesterone, and that does seem to be the one that lowers first when we're in perimenopause. So it's a good idea to look into that. You may not need estrogen at first. Other options for medications could potentially be antidepressants because they work on anxiety and they can be very helpful for sleep. HRT does help with sleep as well, particularly the progesterone side of it. However, I hear this a lot in my group. It's not a cure-all. It's not an automatic, oh, I started taking HRT or hormone replacement and then everything got better. May happen for some people, it does seem to happen that way. And for others, it's a matter of getting the right thing dialed in. I suspect what could be happening is a lot of women are starting on a standardized, like a patch, a combi patch, where they have some progesterone and some estrogen, and they really don't need the estrogen. High estrogen, not enough progesterone can cause that kind of sleep disruption where you're waking up more frequently. So definitely keep experimenting and don't hesitate to try medications. I was recently accused of being in with Big Pharma, and I am not. I am a yoga therapist. I am interested in all the natural remedies. However, for some of us, and maybe for a lot of us, it's not enough. And I really feel the shame of using an antidepressant in particular needs to just go in the garbage. If you have an illness, if you have cancer, should you feel ashamed for using chemotherapy? Chemotherapy, it's prescription medication. Probably you wouldn't. Probably you would just go and do the chemotherapy. And some people wouldn't do the chemotherapy, and that's their right and that's their choice. I'm all for giving people their options. So the most balanced way to do this is starting with the all natural stuff. What can you do with your lifestyle? Then looking at, is there some supplements that could help, like magnesium? And then looking at prescriptions if needed. And don't let anybody tell you that it's wrong or that there's something wrong with you or that you're bad for taking them. That's totally not appropriate. I feel that that's abusive, actually, because how does someone else know what is best for you? They absolutely 100% cannot know what's best for you. Only you know what you need. So don't hesitate to take all of the help. And let me know if you need to talk about that, because that's a big problem. February 3rd, lack of sleep is making aging even harder. Is this what I have to look forward to? Dragging myself through my day with no rest in sight? This question really does bring home this idea that a lot of us feel trapped in what's happening because we have no control over how it is changing and when it changes and how much it changes. It does seem to come for a lot of us all of a sudden. We suddenly have trouble sleeping, even though we're exhausted. So no, this isn't what you have to look forward to. It is a temporary situation that will eventually resolve. Usually for most of us, 80% of us feel much better once we've gone through that 1 year of no period into postmenopause. Simple things that can help with sleep are looking at your sleep hygiene, making sure that you don't have technology in your bedroom. Like, get an old-fashioned alarm clock. Stop looking at your phone at 8 p.m. to sleep by 10 p.m. Go to bed. Have a regular bedtime. Blackout curtains. A white noise machine is very helpful, or a fan, or we use both. But even those methods sometimes aren't enough, and you may need to add in some medications. Sleeping pills can be used. I'm not a big fan of that. But under certain circumstances, it is important to try. And I had one client who was on sleeping pills that we were able to get off of sleeping pills by using my methods in the 21 days to fix your sleep. So don't give up. Just keep trying stuff. February 4th, I used to have a sunny outlook on life, was up for any activity or challenge. Now, due to sleep troubles, I'm exhausted and irritable. So this is a reflection of just what's happened for the body. And our mood is deeply affected by how much sleep we get, especially if we get into that place where when you're really tired and you wake up yet again feeling really powerless. When you're really in that powerless state of mind, it makes everything much, much harder. That's why doing anything will help you to feel better about what's happening. I have used Insight Timers, the app, and done yoga nidras. I have a few that are designed specifically for us in peri and postmenopause. But there are lots of them, and you can look for things like non-sleep deep rest that can really help. I also feel like we need to do some acceptance of what kind of attitude is realistic for us. I mean, maybe just having a sunny outlook on life isn't necessarily realistic. If you're having sleep troubles, there's some acceptance that can happen where you just accept the fact that you're feeling exhausted and you're more easily irritated. And then you can warn the people around you that that's what's happening. This can really be liberating in a way, accepting of what's happening for you right now, and then being clear with the people around you what kind of support you need. I talked to a woman this week who said, I'm up in the night, I'm not feeling good, and then I'm expected to do a regular day. And honestly, we can probably do that once in a while and it's not going to be a big deal. The trouble is, this can be ongoing sleep issues to the point where you're really getting bad sleep most nights and hardly ever sleeping well. That's when you have to do something. And that's what the 21 Days to Fix Your Sleep class is for. What I've heard from people who've used it is that they get to a place in their sleep where even if they do wake up, they just don't worry about the fact that they've woken up, and they fall back asleep much more quickly. And there's a few things that I've embedded in that class that help you to do that. I went from being able to manage running my own business, producing music, and writing regularly, taking classes online, working out with a trainer, being really active, to just struggling to get through the day. So I know exactly what you're talking about. February 5th, can I start on only progesterone? My perimenopause symptoms are mainly major sleep issues, fatigue, anxiety, and memory. I have a genetic predisposition for breast cancer. Both mom and sister had it. I know the breast cancer thing has been disproven, but I guess I'm still on the fence. Yes, you can start on only progesterone. This is one of the interesting things about the way our system approaches it, is we're fixated maybe on estrogen being the culprit of all of our problems, when a lot of it can be treated with micronized progesterone, which is a pharmaceutical that is covered on my healthcare plan and has made a world of difference for me and a lot of the women that I work with. Dr. Sarah Cazal, formerly Gottfried, said in her Beautiful Hormones class that she often starts with just progesterone, 100 milligrams, and then sees what happens. Do they feel better? And then adjusting accordingly. She likes the bioidentical hormones. In Canada, they're compounded, so the dosages may not be exact your 100 milligrams might be 80 or it might be 120. And that is definitely an issue. But a lot of people have found they have great results with the bioidentical hormones. So if you want to start on only progesterone in Canada, your options are prescribing pharmacist, nurse practitioner, medical doctor of any kind. A lot of people go to a family doctor and ask for that. And is that it? Pharmacist, nurse practitioner, medical doctor, naturopath can help you with that. February 6th, I've been having a few days per month where I just want to sleep. By 11 a.m., I need a nap and I can nap for a few hours. I'm usually better by late afternoon. What's going on here? It makes it very hard to work. You can see how that would make it very hard to work, right? That's no way to live, but it's not uncommon either. I've heard that a lot in the group where, they get up and do a couple of things and then they're basically exhausted. I would have a look at cortisol, your stress hormone, what might be going on there. Like what it sounds like to me is usually better by late afternoon. That's when the cortisol naturally declines, right? It's supposed to peak somewhere in the morning around 5, 6 a.m. to get us ready for our day. So we're moving about and doing things. And then throughout the day, it's supposed to lessen because we don't need it as much to get ready for sleep. What can happen for us in perimenopause is we might have too much or too little. Basically, our adrenal glands can get fatigued and they're not making the right amount at the right time, or they're making too much or not enough. And that can really interfere with our energy levels throughout the day. There are a lot of things that you can do. And one of the simplest things that I did that made a lot of difference is working with stress busters. So pretty much anytime I heard of an activity or something that was really good for relieving stress, I would get into it. Insight timer, mindfulness meditation is really good for stress-based reduction, and it's been proven by Western science. Yoga Nidra is really good for reducing stress. Going for a nature walk is really good for reducing stress. Petting an animal or watching videos of animals, listening to music, anything that gives you pleasure. So don't give up on that. Just start experimenting with what you can do to reduce your stress to see if it helps. And then if at 11 a.m. you need a nap, try doing a yoga nidra. There's many of them online. I have some on Insight Timer. There's tons of different teachers. Find a teacher where you like their voice. You can do one for even short practice, 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes will still benefit you. And what I find with yoga nidra is when I get up from a yoga nidra, I don't feel like I have had a nap and I have to wake up all over again. I feel like I just had a nice rest and I can just get up and start going and be very productive for the rest of the day. All right, so February 9th. I'm considering adding progesterone into my regime for sleep issues after a hysterectomy, but I feel nervous because it took a year to convince the doctor to prescribe it. I'm concerned about possible digestive side effects because that's already an issue for me. Is it a good idea to try progesterone? That's one of the things that often gets missed for women who've had hysterectomy because they technically don't need to have progesterone because they don't have a uterus. The progesterone's main job in our prescribing reality is to protect the lining of the uterus. But it is kind of short-sighted because we're not really looking at all the other benefits of progesterone, lowering the stress response, helping with the calming and the relaxing of the body in general. It's good for sleep. It's good for nervous energy. Digestive side effects, I've heard that before. I've never experienced that myself. And honestly, it's kind of it's a soothing hormone. So it might actually make the digestive stuff better. You'll have to try it to know for sure. And then one of the things that comes up quite often in the group is alternative pathways. So you can take it orally through the mouth, or you can insert vagina. insert the progesterone into the vagina and it will absorb. But that way it doesn't have to go through your digestive tract. So women who've been having side effects from the progesterone often don't have them when they use it inside the vagina. And I've never heard of any issues with that. February 10th. I'm wondering about adding progesterone in while using the Mirena IUD, which is every doctor's favorite thing. Since sliced bread, they put them in 14-year-old girls. So if you're ever worried about the safety of that, they wouldn't put it into 14-year-old girls if they thought it was not safe. Okay, so the question, I'm wondering about adding in progesterone while using the Mirena IUD. I'm currently using estrogen and testosterone gel, but I've been sleeping poorly for years. Might adding nightly progesterone improve my sleep? Yes, it might. It's kind of a big oversight that they don't start with progesterone. It's nice that you got the testosterone gel. So, that can be hard for us to get in Canada. It's a controlled substance, so it's not just a hormone. It's under this whole other, people will abuse this hormone. So we keep it under tight wraps. However, it's been shown to be very helpful for women in very, very low doses. So you'll have to try it to know for sure. Everybody's a little bit different. I do believe that it can be very helpful, especially if you've already tried all the other things. Like, I think of this as kind of stacking your tools one on top of the other. If you start with lifestyle, so you're doing the sleep hygiene, you have your regular bedtime, you're in bed by 10 o'clock, you've had a bath before bed to relax your body, you've taken your magnesium, you've made sure that you had enough protein throughout the day, you're not hungry, right? Don't go to bed hungry. Sometimes that can wake you up. You haven't had too much to drink. You've got your blackout windows, you've got your noise machine and or your fan on, and you've got your blankets layered so that you can get in and out of, if you get too hot. You've done all of those things. Now you're really in great shape to add in, maybe some supplementation beyond just magnesium, which I think is pretty much, I believe Mary Claire Haver was sharing about, I think she said 80% of us were magnesium deficient. So it's one of the ones where you can try it and see if it helps. There are different kinds. I like Jameson brand again. They have an ultra that's a blend of 3 different kinds that does not upset my stomach or cause diarrhea. But when you add that lifestyle, then some supplements on top, then add in progesterone, those are the people that I'm seeing in my client base and with the people that I'm working with in my group that are successful. The ones that just go for pills, it maybe works and then it stops working. That happens a lot. Or it works a little bit, but not quite enough. So I really think you want to start on the bottom and work your way up. Start with lifestyle. February 11th. Am I alone in having issues with depression and sleep? Does an antidepressant help with sleep? And yes, it does, because depending on what kind of antidepressant you have, it will help to just basically make sure that your brain function and the hormones are doing what they're supposed to do. The receptor sites are active and you get the feel-good hormones when you should be getting them throughout your day. And that can really help with sleep, especially if you just in general are having, anxiety, which often goes to sleep. They're kind of, or with anxiety often goes with depression. They're kind of married to each other. That's about the brain function and the way the brain is working. So even though sometimes people are like, well, I don't really feel anxious, but I have this depression. And then when they talk about the depression a little bit more, it really does sound like anxiety as well, because even though they're not aware that the anxiety is part of the issue, not feeling up to going out, not wanting to socialize, not wanting to do your regular activities, not getting any joy out of life, those things do cause anxiety. It can be very isolating, which can lead to anxiety. And in my experience, the right antidepressant does help with sleep. So you have to experiment with what kind, perhaps. Like that's one thing that I'm grateful. One of my girlfriends warned me about when I decided to actually try antidepressants finally when I was 50, I guess, right around there. And it had been recommended to me since I was in my 20s, but I finally decided to try it. And one of my friends said, be prepared that it could take 2 or 3 or 4 tries of different kinds before you find the one that's going to work for you just enough. Because some of them work too well and you feel like you're just a bit of a zombie, and some of them don't work well enough and you feel like you're not getting the results, and some of them have side effects. The first one that I tried worked great, very helpful for sleep, but I had unwanted side effects. And so we tried a different one that made me want to barf all the time. And so we tried a different one. That is the winner. And it's really mild, but it's enough for me. And it does make you groggy and make sleep a little easier. So February 12th, I have been taking melatonin and magnesium, but they're no longer working for my sleep. Several nights in a row now, I didn't sleep. I am in the middle of my cycle and suffering from body pain. Oh, suffering from body pain. The only thing that helps is pain relief. I don't want to take that daily. I do yoga stretches in the morning and in the evening. Why has my supplement stopped working? And what can I do to get back to sleeping well? I really feel that part of why they stop working is maybe twofold. One thing I think happens is our bodies just kind of adjust to it. If you've never heard the term homeostasis, homeostasis is kind of like your home base, where your body feels most comfortable. So it always comes back to that place, right? And you see that a lot with weight loss, where you're really, really, really trying to lose weight and you go crazy with the whole thing and you lose 10 or 15 or 20 pounds. And then you feel really good and it's wonderful, and you stop paying attention so much. And the next thing you know, you're back up to where you were before, because that's where your body's comfortable. Your body's comfortable at 165 pounds or whatever it is. For me, it's like somewhere between 165 and 170 pounds. Just wants to go back there. And for years, I was fighting it until I came to the point where I was like, everybody's a little bit different. I'm not an unhealthy weight. None of my doctors are worried about my weight. Why am I so focused on it? It's ridiculous. It makes me unhappy. And, I'm a strong person at this weight. So homeostasis is your body just wants to get back to that place. So when you first introduce a supplement, your body can kind of be like, oh, yay, it's a thing and it's wonderful and it's really helpful. And then your body adjusts to it and it's not working as well. Or I feel sometimes it's needing a switch. Like I have had that before with supplements where I'm working with something and it seems very helpful. And then at a certain point, it doesn't seem to be helping anymore. And I switch to a different brand. And sometimes that will work, taking a different brand. Don't ask me why. I personally feel like in Canada, anyway, our supplements are regulated, but the one brand of let's see, what do I take? Like magnesium is really different from another brand of magnesium as to how effective it is. And I don't think it's the brand's fault. I think it's our biochemistry, how well we absorb whatever that is. And a whole host of things could be at play: how they source the supplement, how they prepare the supplement, like what their process is when they're getting it ready for sale. All of that will affect how easily absorbed it is by your body. And the other thing that happens is you're in perimenopause, your hormones are really fluctuating wildly. So when they change again, I would suspect what's happening here is she's having a lot of body pain, which could be muscular. So the muscles are too tight, which is a problem of not enough magnesium. And switching to a different one might actually be the thing that works, because we have these charts of like which kind of magnesium is the one that you want for sleep or for body pain, and I think that's good. It's good information, but what's more important is to switch and try and find something that works for you. And again, if it's a matter of her progesterone has suddenly dipped like crazy, it might be needing some progesterone. So there are some different supplements that you can try to support the progesterone, like evening primrose has been shown to be very effective. If I was talking to this woman, I would ask about her breasts and if she's having breast tenderness, because that's a sign perhaps that there might be something going on and that she needs more progesterone. February 13th. Okay, this one's based on a true story. I just got fired as a patient by an OBGYN. I was told that symptoms are not perimenopause or menopause related. I have sleep issues, hypertension, and fatigue. The doctor was unhappy that I quit the birth control pills that I was prescribed. My blood pressure has increased but went back to normal off the pill. This is my second OBGYN. Can you be allergic to estrogen? Okay, I think you can be allergic to anything, and depending on the source of what you're getting, like how it has been prepared, it might be really different for you. For example, I have heard some women say they really didn't get the benefit from oral estrogen, but they got a lot of benefit from the patch. Or they didn't get the benefit from the patch, but they got it from the gel. Or they didn't get it from the gel, but they got it from the patch. So there are different types of ways to take the estrogen that could potentially be helpful for you. Quitting the birth control pill, I get why you'd want to do that. I'm on a pill right now. It's not for birth control, but it's for endometriosis. It stopped my period, and I would love to stop taking it. However, I know that my body is still doing huge fluctuations with the estrogen. And because I've had endometriosis, I need to have the period stop so that that doesn't grow back. Otherwise, I might have to have it removed again. Birth control is it's a legitimate form of treating for us in perimenopause. I know a lot of women are like, it's not good for you when you're older. That's kind of old information. That's not really current. It doesn't actually treat our problem. Well, it does and it doesn't, right? I mean, if your problem is abnormal bleeding, it definitely can treat that. For some women, they do feel better as far as sleep goes when they're on the birth control pill. For a lot of people, they don't. It really just depends on how you're absorbing that hormonal treatment. The blood pressure going back to normal is a good sign that maybe you are on the right track to go off of that pill. Those symptoms, though, sleep issues, hypertension, and fatigue, that is definitely part of perimenopause for a lot of women. The hypertension itself could be related to not enough progesterone, right? If you think of it from the stress response standpoint, we have not enough progesterone, so our cortisol is kicking in to try to help things out, making us more stressed out, and then the blood pressure system just goes up because we're stressed out. And that is very tiring. Having fatigue is normal if you're having sleep issues, right? Doctors can be unhappy when you don't follow their medical advice because that's what they've got in their bag of tricks, right? So I always say to women, not don't go off your pill, but go and talk to your doctor about it before you go off your pill. Because now you're in a position of power and you're having a dialogue with another human being about what it is you want for yourself, what you want your treatment to look like, and what kind of help you might need. Because there are other options. And when you don't take the medication as prescribed by the doctor, you're under this umbrella of being non-compliant. And patients who are non-compliant, and most of us are considered difficult. They're hard to work with because you're not having an open dialogue about what they want and what's going on for them. And they have a lot of options in their bag of tricks. There might be something else that would work better. I myself was amazed that the pill that I ended up on has been so great and really no side effects. I would just prefer not to take it, but I also don't want the other consequences of not taking it. So for now, I'm on it still. February 14th, I had a hysterectomy. So my doctors gave me only the estrogen gel, but I was still waking up in the middle of the night. I was feeling kind of clammy and sort of sick in the morning. My doctor decided to put me on the patch and micronized progesterone pill. I'm so excited to try this combo and ready to sleep well. How will I know if the combination is for me? Well, it's going to work or it isn't going to work. That's really the whole tell. And a lot of women get very frustrated that doctors really want you to take this combination for 3 months. But that's because we want to actually give it the chance to work, right? And if we go in there and tweak things really quickly after not enough time, doctors could inadvertently be causing harm. And that goes against the Hippocratic oath that all doctors took. So they're going to take it really slow, and that's a really good combination. So a patch and a micronized progesterone pill, that's a little bit of estrogen, that's a little bit of progesterone. And it should really help with sleep. But if it doesn't, this is where having the comprehensive symptom list comes in handy. You can fill out that list of what your symptoms are after you've been taking it. I would say for at least 3 weeks. Like 3 weeks is like the shortest amount of time you can expect to see any sort of change when you're adding something in or doing a change in your lifestyle. Then you can take it back and show them what symptoms you're still having and how difficult they are, because the proof is in the pudding and there's nothing arguable about a list that's printed out. It looks professional. And sometimes I've had women say, a certain symptom they've been complaining about suddenly becomes, under the microscope with the doctor because it's on this list. So yeah, I hope you have a great sleep. And if you don't, after 3 months, definitely go back. One of the things that I always do when they do a medication change is I book the appointment for in 3 months so that I don't forget and so that I go back, even if all I'm doing is going back and saying, yep, everything's good. I think we're doing all right. The doctors that I've worked with really appreciate that, because then they're not stuck wondering how everybody's doing. They're seeing you on a fairly regular basis. Of course, that depends on the doctor. So if you're not sure, ask your doctor if they'd like you to book in after 3 months. Is it common to switch from the estrogen patch to the gel? The patch doesn't seem to absorb so well. My doctor is hoping the gel will work better for me. What can I expect? And I've seen this go both ways. So this is where I get into the theory of all of our bodies are just a little bit different depending on what we've been through, what our tendencies are, what our experiences have been, how much toxins we've been exposed to. Who knows what the variety of different elements are that are influencing this. But what I have seen again and again is, there's no one right way. There is a variety of different options for women. And if it's not working, go try the gel. And if the gel's not working, go try the patch. And if the pill's not working, try the patch or the gel. And just be open to trying different things. I had one client who was working with progesterone, and I felt that she really needed more. But when she bumped up to the micronized, it's 100 milligrams per pill, it was too much. 2 pills a day was too much, but one wasn't enough. So she went to see a naturopath and got a prescription for bioidentical progesterone for 25 milligrams, and 125 seems to be the right amount for her. So you really want to keep that in mind, that it's a custom fit for you. Get that comprehensive symptoms list, fill it out before you start taking the new prescription, and then fill it out again in 3 weeks and see where you're sitting. You'll see that it's improved or it hasn't, and then you can go from there. All right, that's about halfway. So I'm going to end the meeting now. And I hope everybody is enjoying their day. I put in the link there for the brain fog chapter because it's available for sale. And if any of you are excited about this book proposal, I would really encourage you to please go on and buy a copy of the first chapter, because that helps to show Hay House or any publisher that what I am building is marketable and not a waste of time, and that they'll get their money back by backing me. And I've had a few people say that they're really excited about this book coming out. So please, please don't hesitate. I think it's $4 when you add in the fee to buy it. And it's a very thorough example of different things that can happen with brain fog. And I have book recommendations, podcast recommendations, websites you can look at. Basically anything that I talked about in that chapter is at the back in the reference list, so you can go and immediately find more resources and get all of the help that you need. Thanks a lot.